Hello everyone. Very good evening to one and all. I hope everyone was hearing my voice. And uh, so that today, yes, we already completed 9 sessions, 8 sessions. This is the ninth webinar, and the topic name is Deep Tech in Healthcare. So related to healthcare, how it will be, everything he will explain. Now the speaker name is Shesha Kishore Reddy. So hello sir, welcome to the program.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
this is again which is like ninth time. So and he's like CEO from Singapore and he's having 30 plus years of experience in IT industry and he SK Deep Tech Limited. He's the CEO from that company. Sir, help them all the students that how healthcare was in technology.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, please start the session.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Please start
yeah.
the
You
session.
you you can see the screen now. No.
Actually, you need to share the screen,
Yeah.
share a browser window, a tab, or your entire screen. So that one you need to select.
Oh, okay. I'll share the entire screen. Okay.
It's a new update for me.
So now you can see, right?
Yes,
Okay, good. Okay. Thank you all coming for this session. Yeah, we are going to talk about deep tech in healthcare. How deep technologies like artificial intelligence and other related technologies are being used in healthcare industry. So to introduce ourselves, we basically used to have a company called SK Computers in India. We started in 1994 and we started our Singapore operations in 2002 and we started two startups in India last year relating to deep tech. When we say deep tech, we're covering areas like artificial intelligence, analytics, big data, and IoT. So we have five brands. One is AI Asia, concentrating on artificial intelligence chatbot development. Analytica is for predictive analytics reports. And Smart Cities is for ISO 37120 certification for smart cities. And IoTika is our Internet of Things brand. And Academy is a training division where we give deep tech training with industry collaboration. So with this introduction, I would like to start the session today. So today we're going to talk about a lot of use cases, how this technology is being used in the healthcare industry. So the first use case is digital marketing. You may be wondering why the healthcare industry needs digital marketing, because every industry, like any other industry, the hospitals, they spend a lot of money on advertising, about their facilities, their infrastructure, what kind of specializations they have and all those things. So earlier, the how they used to do is they used to spend money on advertising in say newspapers, and they don't have a clue how the advertising is going to reach the audience. They put a lot of money and say advertise in say a newspaper, so they don't know whether how many people have read, whether their customers have read it or not. No clue of any idea. Now what people are doing is that they are shifting to digital marketing, where they will do the digital campaign and then the campaign will be sent to like through email IDs, and then they can measure the campaign. For example, they send the advertisement to say 100,000 people, and then they can clearly see their analytics reports, like how many people have seen their advertisement, how many people have clicked, how much time they have spent, from which country, which region, all kinds of these analysis reports, the analytics reports they can get. And that's why the healthcare industry is also using digital marketing. This is one of the use case. The second use case is in maintenance management. Normally in any hospital, they have a lot of these equipment, like sometimes, they have to do like maintenance, and sometimes they have to do preventive maintenance, or sometimes they have to take care of, say, some parts, they need to order advance. For example, you talk about, say, oxygen cylinders, they need to know how many they have and how many they need and when to place the order and all those things. It's very cumbersome, especially when the hospital is a big hospital. It's very difficult for them to track of all these things, and that's why people are using these digital technologies to maintain the inventory or the equipment or the assets of the hospital. So what is advantage is, earlier they don't know, like for example, they spend a lot of money on one equipment, doing repair or doing some things. They don't know how much exactly they have spent, or when was the last maintenance done, or when is the next maintenance due. All those things they don't know earlier, but now with the help of technology they can monitor all these things. We call it maintenance management system for hospitals. All the healthcare system facilities can be combined into this, and you can generate variety of reports like when is the next equipment due for maintenance and all those things. So it's very useful for hospital administration to manage their assets. That's why people are using this technology to better manage their healthcare facilities. So another use case is fleet management. Fleet management is, they will be having a lot of vehicles like ambulances and other things. For example, one ambulance went to pick up a person. So another case there, and they need to send the ambulance. So they don't know where is the ambulance, at what time it may reach the hospital, so that they can send the ambulance to pick up the other patient. So now with the help of IoT gadgets, we can put all IoT gadgets inside the ambulance. Then we can know the pinpoint location of the ambulance, where it is there and how much time it will take the ambulance to reach back the hospital and all those things. So not only that, they can analyze a lot of things like the ambulance idle time. For example, if the driver may be sitting there on the way, they know all these things, the driver behavior, speeding, routing, and all those things. That's why people are using these IoT gadgets for fleet management, especially in ambulances in healthcare industry. So the next thing is analytics and dashboard reports. So dashboard reports is like for example, they have done something and then they can analyze the report. As I mentioned before in my one of the previous webinars, we call them as post-mortem reports, and we don't have any idea how it is going to help us in the future. That's why people are shifting to analytics reports. That means analytics reports is we study the existing data and correlate the previous historic data, whatever data the hospital may have, for say, for example, for the past 10, 20 years data, and then generate analytics reports. But that means how the future is going to be, so that it will help the management to take better decisions. These reports can be like anywhere, hospital management dashboard report you can develop, or patient experience analysis you can develop, like how many patients, and one particular day, or how they perform. I mean, how they got the treatment, when they got discharged. A lot of variety of reports you can generate. And in analytics reports, we talk about two types of reports. One is predictive analytics and another is prescriptive analytics. Predictive analytics is, for example, you have a report saying that, okay, in the month of May last year, we got say 1,000 patients. So predictive analytics reports will predict the future, and then the management may ask, okay, how many patients are likely to get in the next month, next year in May. Then system will automatically calculate, and it will give the probable number of patients that may come in May, because it will analyze the previous historic data, identify the patterns, and using statistical techniques, it will generate the report. That is predictive analytics. And there is another one called prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics is, okay, the management will decide. Last year, May, we got, I would say, 1,000 patients, and now this year we want to have 1,200 patients. So the additional 200 patients to receive, I mean, to get for the hospital, what I'm supposed to, where I need to advertise, or what kind of actions I need to take. So again, there is a data scientist who will analyze the data, drill down the data, understand the pattern, and then he will come up with ideas of how they can reach that particular target that management sets. That's why these analytics being used heavily in the industry, especially, I mean, in the healthcare industry also. Okay. So the next use case is chatbots. Chatbots are nothing but artificial intelligence powered chatbots. So any visitor to the website can find information. They can talk to the chatbot. I mean, they can key in the information, and then the chatbot will respond and will reply whatever information the particular person is looking for. These AI chatbots nowadays can be developed in voice activated chatbots, or in different local languages. For example, you can develop a voice chatbot that can speak in a local language, so that the patients no need to enter any text or anything. They can talk to the computer, and the computer will give all the information they need in their local language. There is another extension to these chatbots, which we call as digital humans. Digital humans are nothing but AI-powered lifelike characters that can see, hear, understand, and create real human conversations. So most of the people, they don't feel comfortable texting or typing something into the system. They want to have a real conversation. They talk to a real person. This is where the digital personas are coming, and the digital personas will talk to the person with real expression, empathy, tone, pitch, and all those things. Of course, in the backend, it is connected to an AI-powered chatbot. So the digital persona will transfer the voice to the chatbot, get the answer from the chatbot, and then talk back to the client, so that the client will feel as if he's talking to a person. As I mentioned before, we can do it in local languages also. So anybody can speak the local language, can talk to the digital persona and get the answers, whatever they are looking for. Okay, we are tied up with a company called Unique, and they are pioneers in developing these digital personas, especially for the healthcare industry. And all big companies, IBM, Amazon, Deloitte, Accenture, everybody is tied up with this Unique to drive the future of, we call it conversational AI. Conversational AI is how people can conversate with artificial intelligence softwares using these digital technologies. So they have developed a lot of digital personas. The recent one is, they they developed a persona of a famous health coach so that people can talk to this persona online for any kind of mental health. Basically, they developed this coach as a mental health coach so they can talk to this digital coach and they can get all kinds of answers they're looking for. As this is an AI powered program, this is available 24 by 7, and you can answer a variety of questions related to that particular topic. Okay. So similarly, they have developed a one what we call digital cardiac coach. So, for example, in a cardiac scenario, a person gets an operation, say an open heart surgery. After the surgery, they will be having a lot of questions. Can I take this medicine? Can I take this food? Or can I do that? Can I do this? So, normally, what happens is the patients will ask these questions to the nurses and medical assistants, and it is taking a lot of their time because they're asking the same standard repetitive questions, and they need to answer all these things. So, that's why this company Unique had developed this digital cardiac coach. This digital cardiac coach will answer the patients about any cardiac related question. And it's available by 24 by 7. So any patient can log into the system and then they can just chat with the digital coach. A digital coach will answer all the questions related to the cardiac things. And another advantage is, as it is AI based, it can record all the what you call the history of the patient, and when you talk to the patient it will understand when the patient got the heart surgery done, all things it can record so that it can give the best advice. Let's have a look of how this digital cardiac coach is looking in action when a patient actually talks to this cardiac coach.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Sam. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm okay, I guess.
You don't sound sure. Can I help you with something?
Oh, it's just these pills I've had since my bypass. I don't know what they're for.
Did they explain them to you in rehab?
Yeah, but that was ages ago. I've kind of forgotten all about it now.
I can show you a rehab video on meds if you like, Sam, and I can answer questions about it.
Maybe another time. I just want to know if what they are. Do you know?
I can help with that. Just hold the boxes up so I can see the label with your name on it. That pill or med is called a statin, Sam. Its job is to reduce the bad fats in your blood that can cause problems with your heart. It says on the label to take one at night. That's what works best.
Is there anything bad about them?
Most meds have side effects, but very few people have problems.
Are you sure? Some of the boys say that they've taken them and they get very sore muscles because of them.
That's a very rare side effect. Many patients are sore from the surgery and this goes away.
How can you tell?
That is a good question for your doctor, Sam. They can ask questions and do some simple tests to check if you have side effects from any of your meds.
Can't you just tell me what the side effects are?
I could, but sore muscles, headaches, and so on can simply be from a cold.
Okay, so the conversation can go on, and it will try to answer all kinds of questions the patient can have. And another advantage of this digital coaches, as they're AI powered, one digital persona can answer like hundreds and thousands of people at the same time. Okay. So another use case 7 is, this is about IoT gadgets, which is widely used in healthcare industry nowadays. So this is a portable IoT gadget where we fix a lot of sensors that can measure the vital statistics of a patient. For example, your blood pressure, your pulse, oximeter, all those kinds of instruments where you measure the vital statistics of a patient can be done with the help of this remote portable IoT gadget. where you can collect the information and the gadget will send the information to the doctor's server almost instantaneously. So the doctor, when they want to talk to patient, they will open up their system, they can see the live data and then they will talk to the patient. So normally, for example, if a patient gets discharged, the doctor will ask the patient to come for a regular checkup on a monthly basis. So 95% of the cases, the when the patient goes to the hospital for a regular monthly checkup, they will take the vital statistics and the doctor will say, okay, everything is normal, you can go back home and continue the medication. So especially the patients have to travel all the way from a remote village or a remote setting, and if the patients are old, it's a very, very cumbersome process. They have to go all the way to the hospital, wait for the turn, and then the doctor will say, okay, you can go back and continue the medication. So with the help of these IoT gadgets, the nurses will take the gadgets to the patient's home, collect the data and upload the data to the doctor's server. So the doctor, when he comes to the hospital, he will have the live vital statistics of the patient. Looking at the data, he will talk to the patient online through a video call, and then he will say, okay, everything is normal, you can continue. So this will be very helpful from a doctor's point of view as well as patient's point of view. And another thing, area where we can use these kind of gadgets is in ambulance. Normally, if an accident happens, the patient gets admitted into the ambulance, and then there is a certain travel time where the ambulance reaches the hospital. And once the patient reaches the hospital, then the doctors will take the vital statistics and then they'll decide on the next course of action. But with the help of this gadget, the moment the patient enters ambulance, we collect the vital statistics and upload to the doctor's server. So by the time ambulance reaches the hospital, the doctor would have already analyzed the vital statistics and then they're ready with the next course of action. This will save a lot of time, especially in cases of emergencies where the time is very crucial. So a lot of these IoT gadgets are being used in healthcare industry nowadays. So another use case is what we call is Internet of Medical Things. Because of these IoT gadgets in medical field, they coined a new term called Internet of Medical Things. Okay, so with the help of these gadgets, basically the live data can be uploaded to the server and then you can monitor yourself also. The best example is your wearable Fitbit. You can monitor your beat, the pulse rate or how many steps you have, walked that day, and all those things can be measured. So a lot of other sensors are also being used nowadays. We call it neural sensors. Basically, this is related to brain. To understand the neural signals in the brain, infer the state of the brain, and train it for better attention and focus. We call it neurofeedback. So people who wear this particular neural sensor gadget, the brain's signals can be detected and automatically transmitted to the server, and then they can analyze what is happening inside. Especially in China, people are using these neural sensors in schools, where the students have to wear these neural sensors, and the teacher can, the system, AI system can automatically detect who is paying attention and who is not paying attention and all those things. So this is one type of IoT gadget that is being used in medical healthcare industry. So nowadays, a lot of embedded skin patches are available. That mean to monitor the. They're very thin and very cheap. It looks like a tattoo. Basically, you will fix it on your skin. They're stretchable, disposable, and very cheap. And these patches, once the patient wears these patches, it will automatically detect some kind of vital statistics, health parameters, and automatically send it to the server. Patient. We don't need to take the parameters from the patient, as it automatically sends the data to the server. This is one type of IoT patch that is being used nowadays. So another use case is of early detection of diseases. Especially artificial intelligence is helping to diagnose the diseases early and also to design new drugs. For example, if you normal practice, what happens is if you go to an eye doctor, he will take a scan of your say eye, and then based on that he will detect, maybe you have some kind of a glaucoma therapy needed or whatever. The same image can be fed to the AI software, and AI software will also predict what kind of disease you may get. So not only that, based on its previous experience, because this AI software will be fed up with lots of data, so it can correlate with a similar image, that might other patient might have had, like maybe 5 years or 10 years before, and then it can correlate like what kind of diseases he got based on this particular image, and it can suggest, it can basically, the whole idea is it can early detect, what kind of disease this patient may get. Not only that, artificial intelligence is being used in designing new drugs. So the AI softwares are helping to design the new drugs also in healthcare industry. So another use case is RPA bots. RPA bots are nothing but robotic process automation bots, where there is if there is any what you call a repetitive task, we could use a software. The software will automate the process. For example, in say accounting, they buy a lot of purchases. They buy say some kind of medical equipment or disposable items. They will get an invoice. The accounting people, what they need to do is they have to open the invoice file, collect the data like what is the invoice number, the company name, the amount, tax, or all those things, and then they need to key into their system because every hospital will have their own internal IT system. So this is a tedious process, and we need a lot of people to just collect the data and do data entry into the hospital system. So these kind of things can be automated where this invoice, the PDF file can be fed into a computer program, and the computer program will automatically open that particular PDF file, collect the data, whatever information that is needed to collect, and automatically it will key in back and upload the data to the other software that the hospital is using. So using the RPA bots, a lot of automation can happen, and it will eliminate a lot of low-end jobs like people who usually perform these kind of data entry jobs. This is one area where hospitals can take advantage of this RPA bots, robotic process automation bots. So another area what we can talk about is electronic health records. So electronic health records are nothing but a digital version of a patient's paper chart. Normally, if you go to the hospital, the doctor will maintain a file. Every time you go to the hospital, you have to take the file along with you. And looking at the file, he will understand, what is your history, how many times you have come to the hospital, what kind of medication they have given you earlier, and all those things. So the same physical file will be replaced by an electronic health record where all the data will be maintained electronically, and the doctor can look the patient's data in an electronic format. He can open the computer and then he can see the entire data, entire history of the patient, entire medical history basically from your what you call uh, medication, diagnosis, treatments, or whatever, from day one, whatever records you have paper format can be digitized nowadays, and you can maintain the entire electronic health record in doctor's database. In companies, I mean, countries like Singapore, what they're doing is they're interconnecting all the healthcare organizations so that, if you go to one hospital, the touch of a button, they can get the information from other hospitals also. For example, you're going first time to this hospital, and earlier say 10 times you went to the other hospital in another place. Still, they can retrieve the data because everything is interconnected nowadays. The one electronic health record can be maintained in a single place where it can be accessed by any hospital or anybody who wants to access the data. In fact, Indian government is planning to do this, and they want to issue what they call is a health card, just like your Aadhaar card. Based on your health card number, all the information they can retrieve. Basically when you go to hospital, they will give the treatment, the medication, or whatever is based on your health card number, so that once it is captured, it can be retrieved from anywhere in India. That's the idea of central government, and they're planning to implement this electronic health record system. Okay. Next is, like we call it HIMSS analytics maturity models, because a lot of hospitals are using these, say, latest digital technologies. So how do you know whether the technology or the process that the hospital is using is up to mark? So this HIMSS is a company who has come up with the maturity models, and then they give a rating or ranking based on, what kind of features or the advancement your hospital has, and based on your maturity model, they will give the numbers starting from 0 to 7, and stage 0 is the minimum, the basic one, and stage 7 is the highest one based on how the hospital is maintaining your health records, analytics, your digitalization, and all those things. And they have come up with a lot of models. For example, we have EMRAM, that stands for Electronic Medical Record Adoption Model, or OEMRAM, Outpatient Electronic Medical Record Adoption Model, or AMAM, Adoption Model for Analytics Maturity. These are like different models based on your function, what hospital is using. Similarly, the continuity of care maturity model, basically once the patient gets discharged, how the hospital is managing the post-discharge care of the patient. Based on that, they will give the number, what stage, I mean, how mature the hospital is in managing this. Similarly, infrastructure adoption model, what kind of infrastructure the hospital is maintaining, Similarly, digital imaging adaptation model, for example, the hospital is maintaining the digital records, the images, the MRI scans and all those things. So how they're maintaining, based on their maturity, they will give the number from 0 to 7. So as I mentioned before, stage 0 is the basic main, the bare minimum, the fundamental one or the early stage one, and the stages will go from 0 to 7, 7 being the highest. When the company, a hospital or a healthcare facility attains stage 7, means it's totally matured. They have all the data capturing, data maintaining, and advanced digital technologies that helps the hospital to manage the entire things. So stage 0 to stage 7, and there are very few healthcare organizations in the world that have attained stage 7. I think in India recently, Apollo Hospitals got stage 6 certification for their facility in Jubilee Hills. Okay, this is about ER adaptation model. Okay, and another use case is 3D printing. You might have heard, in some cases, for example, very complex surgeries. For example, there is a patient's case. For example, their skull got damaged. Say, for example, some part of the skull is gone. Okay, so earlier there is no way, and people used to use titanium meshes and other what we call materials, where it is very cumbersome, because when they perform the surgery, the mesh will come in a standard size, and the doctor have to like fold it and see how to fit it to suit to that particular shape of where he's planning to do the surgery. And for example, the doctor folds it and puts into the, say, the damaged portion, and if it does not fit, then he will take it out and then try to fold it again and then try to match. Throughout this process, the operation will be going on, and then the patient's, for example, the skull, it is exposed to a lot of infection. This is always a challenge because it takes lot of time. Thanks for 3D printing, nowadays the technology is available. So what we do in 3D printing is we collect the patient's health scan data, from the MRI image, and the data will be automatically fed to the 3D printing machine, and the 3D printing machine will exactly match with the dimensions, coordinates, and all, and it will come up with the part that is required to fill the gap. For example, if you see in the green color is the part that we are trying to replace the damaged skull, and then once it is done, then will ask for confirmation, and once the doctor gives the confirmation, automatically the print will come out in 3D format. Meaning to say that particular part that we are trying to replace will be printed from the 3D printing machine. And you can use any kind of material in printing. You can use metal, you can use ceramic, you can use. There is a new material that is coming up. We call PEEK. PEEK is like inert material, and this is like less weight, and a lot of advantages are there using this material. So the advantage of 3D, what we call 3D printing, is you can print the exact part, to match the exact location, exact size, and everything. So once the part is printed, it's very easy for the doctor to operate and put it back into the particular area, because once he opens, he will just fix it, and automatically it will fit nicely, and the operation time will be very less. The patient will be less exposed to this infection and all those things. That's why the whole industry nowadays is moving to 3D printing, and it's everybody is encouraging, because they take the MRI image and can automatically come up with that particular 3D part. And in future, maybe you can print the whole organ. We don't know. That's how the industry is moving. Okay, this is about 3D printing. And the next thing is use case is 5G remote operation. I'm sure you might have heard about a 5G technology. So 5G technology is nothing but a telecom technology. We earlier we used to have 2G, 3G, and nowadays 4G is available in India also. The next revolution is 5G. Nothing but the speed will be enormously high. For example, maybe we are looking at 1,000 times faster than 4G. So if you download, say, a movie nowadays in 4G, it takes, say, half an hour or 1 hour. With 5G, you can do it in maybe minutes, maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes. That's how the speed is going to be increased. So because of this 5G technology, a lot of new things have come up. So the main advantage is there is no time lag. That means if you connect to the system and try to transmit or try to do something, it takes only like 1/100th of a second for the data to reach the other part. So people are using this technology to develop remote surgery. That means, the doctor may be sitting some other place, and the operation he can do remotely for the patient who is in another place. I mean, to say, the doctor may be in US and the patient may be on the bed in Indian hospital, and then still the doctors can perform the robotic surgery. The doctor will be performing the surgery from US with the patient sitting in the Indian hospital. The advantage is, as I said, 5G is very fast, so there is no lag time. The doctor can see it on the screen, and then he can operate through his robotic arm, and it will be like as if he's operating in the same room. That's how the technologies have improved, and now people are coming up with these kind of what called 5G enabled operation theaters and machines. And recently in China, they have conducted the first operation using 5G surgery. They have conducted an animal. I mean, they try to do it from a remote, not too remote, maybe like 30, 40 kilometers away, sitting in another room, and then they successfully completed the operation using this 5G technology. Let's have a look of how they did it. Okay. One, one second.
Whether you're building dynamic network models or forecasting real-world behavior, Neo4j Graph Algorithms book will walk.
其实5G呢，就是让我们可以做到在很多场合，比如说救灾的场合，还有一些像边防上，还有一些呢，就是说像我们将来的基层和大型医院的连接，我们完全可以做到，就是让外科医生做到一个标准化的术数，一个人可以去做几千公里，或者是那个几百里，各种各样的这样点对点的一些连接。
Okay, I think that's all from my side. Now I would like to take up any questions you may have. You can type your questions in the chat box.
Yeah, any questions regarding this, please ask Kishore Gar. He will. So, any questions regarding what you have seen up to now? Yeah, hope no questions. So,
Okay.
if you want to ask any questions, please ask. He will reply to your questions. I'm sharing the feedback link. Shravan Kumar, you want to ask any questions? And I'm sharing the feedback link. Don't forget to give the feedback. How you how you felt about the session?
Is there any side effects of doing operations through remote based? No, this technology has just come up and people have still have to start doing this. And in fact, the video that I've shown, the first one that is being done in China using this technology, they're experimenting this using animals now because the technology is new and they have to really see how it is going to do it. But definitely, it will be the trend, and any doctor from anywhere can perform the operation in a remote location using 5G technology. Also, that radiation will occur due to technology doing operation. No, see, this technology 5G is the same robotic arm. The arm will be there in the hospital, the patient, the theater, and the arm will be controlled remotely through using 5G technology. So the radiation or whatever you're talking about will not happen because the instrument will still be in the same hospital room, in the same theater. So the only control will be done remotely using 5G technology. Okay. What if cardiac person fail to answer or misguiding something else? So see, this is not done purely by the remote surgeon. The local surgeons will also be there monitoring it. Okay. So whatever the part that remote surgeon is doing will be handled by this technology. That's all. It's not the remotely, everything will be done remotely. No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, thank you.
I hope no
Okay.
questions.
Yeah.
And
Then we can end the session. Yeah.
yeah, another question: does this technology help in reducing the cost of the medical expenses?
No, it's not about reducing the cost. See, in case of emergencies, for example, sometimes you say this is condition is very critical, and people say, only the surgeon is available in so and so place. Only this surgeon can do these kind of things. So the technology can help because the surgeon can still be at some other place and can still perform the operation. That is the advantage. It's not about cost. I think it's about convenience or making it happen. Especially in some cases, say for example there is a disaster, and the doctor cannot physically be there in that particular place, but still he can support remotely. That is the advantage of the technology.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I hope you got the point. And thank you, sir,
Thank
for
you. Yeah.
coming and giving such a. Thank you, sir, for providing
Thank you.
such a wonder for the content. What you have shared, the PPT is like very nice and
Yeah.
very clear.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir. We are looking to work with like 10th webinar. We are
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
in same 10th webinar.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you. And one, Hariprem, are you providing the e-certificate? No, actually, who attended the 10 webinars, for them will provide the e-certificate. No, not only for this webinar will not provide any certificate. Okay, bye bye. We'll meet at next.